Starting with the cover, I'm already thoroughly confused. Roy is holding not Starfire's injured body as Crux attacks them from behind or overhead, whatever. I'm confused because of where Crux was at the end of the last one, running off with his tail between his legs. Anyway, the first page gives us an image of Crux flying off in the night. Crux is not a monster. Not in his heart.
Right, man, he's just your everyday misunderstood sociopath. Leave him alone.
He sacrificed everything for vengeance. He was determined to avenge the death of his parents, murdered by happenstance when...
I'll happily stop you right there. And I don't believe I have to tell someone this, but that's not how murder works.
Since that night, he has dedicated his life to tracking down and terminating aliens.
You mean except for the one that he just left alive on the ice?
He gave his own body to this cause. He injected himself with a series of gene strands that made him powerful enough to accomplish his mad goals.
Okay, 1, that is not how DNA works, and 2, is he mad or misunderstood? Make up your mind!
So Roy tags him with an arrow or two, then electrocutes him. It is a lot of voltage. Perhaps enough to fry an elephant. It isn't enough to kill him. But it takes him down hard. Roy drills him with what he had to do with Not Starfire's episode. I especially love the caption at the bottom here. Last issue, remember? Dude's really desperate for people to read this crap, huh? Roy leaves him there after putting an arrow in his arm. But you're human. Why aren't you on my side? So back to Jason and Crypt Creeper Deluxe here, fighting continues. She is a member of the Untitled, a race nearly as old as man. I'm Jason Todd, the Red Hood.
No shit, Sherlock.
And again with these freaking captions at the bottom. Haven't you been reading the first 4 issues?
Unfortunately, yes, and it's one of the biggest mistakes that I, as a comic book reader, have ever made, so good job, guys.
So it turns out that the two of them have been tricked by some sort of traitor among the Untitled. Doesn't really matter though, they're still out there to kill one another. Roy finds Not Starfire on the ice. Thank you, Roy Harper. You are a kind man. You ruined my reputation. I'm supposed to be an idiot. Oh, you certainly are an idiot. But you bring light into a world that has not shown me much kindness.
Then maybe, Princess, you should start acting like you want people to treat you nicely and not like a frickin' ice queen.
Anyway, Crux finds them because, yeah, Roy, that thing totally looks like an arrow to the shoulder is going to stop it from going anywhere. Then we're back with Jason. He's having another flashback. I guess I can appreciate that they're trying to make this a big hero moment or something, but it just isn't really working for me, especially not when Jason just threatens to kill the remainder of the Untitled when only one of them is even doing anything evil. I'll just take this chance to remind you that this comic was conceived to make Jason likable. So we're back with Crux again. Roy blows up his arrows to take Crux down, and the 3 of them plummet into the ice. And the story has officially kicked it into ADHD mode because we're once again back with Jason as he's killed the Untitled monster and is now faced with a crowd, which shows up as the beast conveniently reverts to human form. Continuing the ADHD trend, we're returning to Roy and Crux as Not Starfire flies them all out of the water. Apparently, the experimentation done on her during her enslavement led to her superiority, making her immune or at least resistant to the machine, so whatever.
In case you're wondering, yes, this is a total cop-out.
After that, she decides she'll just kill him with the full force of a star or whatever.
I'll remind you that being close to that kind of power would probably kill Roy too, so yeah, idiot.
The comic ends with Jason catching up to the group and a lot of them escaping from an angry mob.
The next issue, I'm not gonna lie, comes right the heck out of nowhere. It's just a telling of how Jason met Starfire in the first place. I'm gonna save it for last because otherwise it's just confusing and distracting. So, moving on to issue 7.
Cover's boring. That's about all I have to say. Just the trio fighting Essence. You know, the exposition fairy from the first issue. First page shows Jason in a disguise dropping Crux off at— Wait!
Jason, I know you've been out of town for a while, but I feel like you should still remember Arkham sucks! Seriously, you got him from Colorado to Gotham, which is usually depicted as being in New Jersey. So would the extra few miles to get him to Metropolis really hurt? Look, Strikers ain't perfect, but it's better than Arkham.
Jason narrates to us some more and they reveal that they stole his spaceship. Inside, Not Starfire is still butthurt over not being allowed to kill him, further cementing that this is not Starfire and is just some orange bimbo who looks and dresses a lot like her. But just so we drive home how freaking lovable these characters are, and you people wonder why I still don't feel at home on Earth after all these years. Don't paint us all with the same brush, Princess. I'll make you a promise. When we get to your planet, you can kill anyone you want. Of course I can. It's my planet.
Our heroes, fanboys and girls. Blatant murderers.
On the way to Crux's base, Essence pops in to have words with Jason. However, he figures out that she set him up for something and attempts to kill her. I'm still trying to piece together the logic here, but in flashbacks she explains that she's Ducker's immortal daughter. Essence is out to kill her family, which is the Untitled. So Duckra is also Untitled then, and so is she. But Essence is out to kill the rest of the Untitled, so what did that have to do with killing the All cast? Does this get explained later or something? Did I miss something? Look, I don't know. This thing is so convoluted, it's impossible to know up from down. Anyway, a big fight scene breaks out, and I'm not kidding, the rest of this comic is a huge fight scene. Essence shrugs off starbolts, bullets, and flare arrows. And would you like to know how they get rid of her? Go on, guess. I'll give you some time. And the answer? Jason literally plucks the most weapon-looking object from one of Crux's crates and uses it. And she's just gone. He had no idea what it was. For all he knew, he could have been shooting a mega mushroom at her. But it did the trick. She's gone, and that's that. Jason calls that flight attendant girl from issue 2, then we cut to Gotham where Ursula is waking up in the hospital vowing revenge. She's looking into a mirror like something happened, but she looks pretty much the same as far as I can tell.
Now, let's just take a minute to talk about issue 6 so we can just wrap this up.
Cover sucks. Next! Jason's climbing up a ladder to escape from Steelbeak here.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you don't get the reference, then that's alright, but please turn in your geek cards here.
Anyway, he shoots the guy in the face and gets out of the sub, then hold up! On the last page, Jason made a point of explaining that these were nukes they were smuggling. And now the sub is exploding.
I know I used it once earlier in the episode, but...
So after that moment of unexplained miracle survival, Jason wakes up on an island without clothing on. Hey, comic, whatever floats your boat. Not Starfire shows up and sits by him, claiming that he's familiar, before having a flashback to Dick. Okay, I'll bite. How does she connect the two of them? At all? Jason manages to spring up and demands to know where his clothes are, which begs the question of why the rest of his clothes aren't with his helmet, jacket, and gun. Then he falls back to sleep. He has a dream about one night when he was out on patrol with Nightwing. Nightwing was giving him a few pointers when... Enough already. I don't need to be told how to do my job by the guy who left me to fill in his cape. And besides, Batman picked me, not you.
Are we beginning to see now why people voted to kill Jason off back in the day? Yeah, that was a thing.
Anyway, he wakes up a few days later or something and goes wandering around. After he runs into Not Starfire, she shows him around her ship. After she offers him some clothing and he recognizes it as Nightwing's, he gets really defensive. Is this some kind of joke, lady? How do you have Nightwing's suit here?
What?
Playing a sick game of dress up isn't going to help you deal with whatever's going on in that bright orange head of yours, you know.
Again. What?
Excuse me? How can clothes do you harm? I'm aware that if I even needed anything beyond myself to validate my existence, then I would already be giving away my power to be self-defining.
What's happening? Did I skip a speech bubble? Is there a panel missing? What's going on? How did this conversation get here?
And I'm not done! There's still more insults on the way! This is Scott Lobdell blatantly giving us the middle finger with a smile. Jason tells her everything and asks if she's mad, particularly about his relation to Dick. That would be foolish. On Tamaran, we appreciate the past. We respect it. But we don't live there. We live here, now, in the moment. Then she tells him not to hold in all that rage he's bottled up and to move on. The comic ends with Jason discovering the news of Roy's little predicament. But not before Scotty Boy decides to throw more philosophy at us for no reason other than he's an 8-year-old that can't handle criticism. It's a load of bull to think of friendship and romance as being different. They're not. They're just variations of the same love. Variations of the same desire to be close.
Okay, where to begin? I'll start from the last part and work backwards to Not Starfire in a minute. The little narration was thrown in for no reason. Scott just saw his critics and decided to use the comic to respond to them, which is never a good idea.
And here's the funny thing about this. I don't care if you agree with him or not. The philosophy isn't the problem. Do I agree with him? No, I don't. But you're entitled to believe what you want. Lobdell, however, is using the comic as a mouthpiece for his philosophy hour. It's the fact that this entire story exists just to throw the finger at the people who spent cash money on this crap and happen to not think it was as awesome as he thought it was. And now let's go back to Starfire's little line about respecting the past. At what point is anything in this book doing anything but insulting the past? The way you've written it all, most of that past didn't happen. What elements of it did happen are ignored. They're just swept under the rug and treated like a non-factor.
By the way, that was the last issue, so it's verdict time.
By the way, you already know how I feel about this thing. I hate it. A lot. The characters aren't likable, the plot is overly complicated, the narration captions treat the audience like idiots, the art is hard to look at more often than not, it overly objectifies Starfire, repeatedly, the writer uses the book as a pseudo-philosophical mouthpiece, and it's flat out insulting, both to my intelligence and to my memories as a fan of the Teen Titans, especially Starfire. It showed some signs of very slight improvement and polish. In the last issue, I legitimately feel like that was because the issue was 95% action. Professionally, I'll say that this comic is deserving of a 3 out of 10.
If you think I'm being generous, then I have to say that there were actually some moments of decent humor, and there were some decently written, if still poorly drawn, moments in the book, but that doesn't save it from being worse than garbage, at least in my opinion.
Which is why I have to say that personally, Red Hood and the Outlaws is burn-worthy.
I have a few in the fireplace right now, but you were wondering why I didn't have any physical copies of this thing on me. Anyway, that is all, Geeks and Geekettes, so I'll see you next time on Iconic Assembly.